Welcome to this, my 11th in the series of videos entitled Rishi Devra, the Fantasy and the Facts. This set of videos, 11 in the series, will be in 4, possibly 5 parts, and will cover an interview that Devra West's personal secretary, Dianne Stoner, gave to the whistleblower in 2003. This was the period of time when Miss West was running her cult in a container called the Circle of Divine Unity and calling herself Devra G, Ascended Master Devra G. Shortly after this, the Secretary of State for Montana shut her charity down after the whistleblower wrote to him and disclosed clear evidence that she and her husband then, Jack West, were defrauding the charity out of millions of dollars in public donations. Let us now hear Dianne Stoner describe what it was like being trapped inside Miss West's cult, which she was for 6 months. 76.
I was hired by Devra West to be her personal assistant and house manager. And that was the middle of July, I think. No, it was early July 2003. Mm-hmm. Anyway, shortly after working there, she made Kathleen the house manager, and I became her personal assistant, and then she let Barbara go, and I became her personal assistant and executive secretary. It was when Devra offered me the job, she offered me $15 an hour, but as a few days before actually working there, she called me to inform me that she couldn't pay me that. She could only pay me $10 an hour.
77.
At that point, I thought, well, I'll try it. It seemed like an interesting place. Basically, it became pretty obvious right off the start it was a nightmare to work for her. She would tell me to do something or tell me how to do something, and of course she would forget that she told me that, or later on when I did things the way she asked me to do, it was wrong. And so it was constant every day of never really feeling like I was achieving anything, which was really hard for me because in the past all my bosses loved me and thought I did a great job. So each day became harder, and there wasn't really any talking with Devra. It was every morning I would go upstairs and in her office and have to listen to her for 20 minutes complain about everybody else that worked there. And, and then she'd even tell me to go tell them how horrible they were at what they did. And that was very uncomfortable, because I didn't know these people, and I felt it wasn't really my place to do that.
78.
Would you say that her behavior towards you was abusive mentally?
Oh yeah, definitely. It was, I understand what brainwashing is about, and that's how I read it, as tear the person down so that you can make them feel insecure, and then you just have complete control over them, sure. What she was trying to do, and I really felt it. But every time I tried to stand up for myself, she did not want to hear it. She would tell me to be quiet. In fact, that one day she said, "Don't speak," over and over, which was really rude. A few days later, she called me in her office in the morning, and this was another technique. She was telling me, she started out by saying, Dianne, I don't think we really have chemistry. And the way the conversation she was leading it was almost like she was going to fire me. And she said, and I knew that she was trying to play another control game over me. So I said, you know what, Devra, you're right. We don't have chemistry. I've been thinking about that myself. And I stared right back at her. And she sort of was caught off guard a little bit. by that. But then she told me that she didn't think I should be her personal assistant anymore, and she made Kathleen her personal assistant, and I was just her executive secretary.
Right.
79.
What do you think her perspective was vis-a-vis her relationship with you and indeed everyone on the property? Did she see herself as a queen? Or?
Oh, well, when she came back from Israel, she pretty much summed it all up. You know, I mean, which she has told me before, that her energy is on a higher plane than everybody else, and I, of course, could not understand, you know, where she was at. And but when she came back from Israel, she pointed to her inbox where I would put her papers for the day for her to review, and she seemed very out of it, very manic, and she pointed to her inbox and she said, "I just can't deal in the material world anymore. I'm up on a higher plane now, and I don't really want to deal with anything in the material world. So if there's any important papers that I absolutely need to see, would you please point them out to me? Otherwise, I'm not going to read anything." And she also said that I was giving her a schedule every week for the coming week of what her appointments were, and she told me that she didn't need a schedule anymore, that people needed to, if she needed to see someone, then it was at her whim, and they needed to be available.
Okay.
So I thought that was like completely out of it. I knew then and there that she had gone over.
80.
Did you ever experience the "I don't need to read this book, I can just touch it"? A little bit, but you have to understand, I tried to avoid her.
Okay.
I really did. I didn't want to be around her very much.
Did you see or hear of her abusing other employees or students there?
Yeah, I did. I heard from Cindy Beeman. Cindy had seen her in one of the SAI sessions go up to Anandra and just take her hand and smack Anandra in the back, and then she took her knees and knocked Anandra's knees from behind out from under her so that Anandra fell to the floor. And, you know, that kind of stuff, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I had heard, you know, that she was abusive.
81.
Do you know anything about the Israel trip? I mean, what was the purpose of it? Was it fundraising? Do you know if she made any contacts?
She had to be there on September the 11th because she had a big appointment with a banker, a female banker. And then there was a sort of a thrown together SAI event that, you know, there was a lot of, she was very upset about, she wanted to make sure nobody got paid for doing any work, that it was all volunteer work, and, you know, that she wanted all the money from it. I don't know the final outcome of all of that, but I know that she didn't want to pay anybody that worked the event.
82.
I heard from others that the Israeli organizers of the event, for, if you like, volunteer staff, had actually paid people, and that she was absolutely livid because she wanted the check is in the post approach, which would enable her to take all the money and not honor any bills. So. Yeah,
well, you know, these things get thrown together, and this is how I saw the Israeli thing. It was thrown together at the last minute. Even when she left for Israel, she said, "I don't want anything special done. This is just going to be, you know, just go there and kind of, you know, just play it by ear, do this and that." Well, but as soon as she arrived, she was pissed off that nothing had been done, and she expected everybody to volunteer their time.
83.
Did Susan Halliday pay for her trip? Do you know?
It was my understanding that Susan Halliday had offered to pay for, this is what Devra had said, that Susan Halliday had offered to pay for her flight. But I know that because Devra had to, of course, fly first class, Susan Halliday was a little upset at the amount it became. And I don't know if Susan eventually ever did pay for the flight, but I know that Susan flew to Israel on a $300 round-trip ticket herself.
84.
Well, just to briefly, one of the things that Devra did to me, I just want to go back to how she treated me. Devra had found out through people, I think it might have been through Kathleen, because Kathleen talked to Devra a lot at the time. You know, we weren't aware that Devra would use things against us. So, you know, just like in the office, and I was staying with my father, and my father was being very hard to get along with, almost abusive. And Devra, I think, found out about that. I don't know, through Kathleen or somebody. And so she somehow got this idea that I was a victim. And so anytime I would try to stand up for myself, I was always shot down and told that I was coming from a victim place, and I needed to stop doing that. And I couldn't speak until I stopped doing that. And I needed to come from truth and get out of the victim place. And I told Devra twice that I didn't come to work to be psychoanalyzed. I came there to do work, and would they please stop it and stay out of my life, you know, my personal life.
85.
Well, when Esther Michaels came on, she came to sort of oversee the operation, I guess you would say. She wasn't really given any title. And Esther started doing the same thing to me, and also to Cindy Beeman. And Cindy Beeman and I, we would talk secretively, because I went to Cindy one day and I said, Cindy, I know she's doing this to you too, and it's horrible, and you know, it was really causing us misery. And I had a secret alliance with Cindy that I said, you know, we can't talk to each other, you know, we have to, because we're being the ones picked on right now.
Sure.
And I said, you know, it'll be worse for both of us if we're seen talking together. So we talk secretively, you know, and I mean, that's how it worked up there. You were forced to, you know, like Kathleen and I got close, but there was a point that I know Esther and Devra were trying to break up our friendship, and in fact almost did. And, you know, and it was an outburst that Kathleen had at me one day that came out of nowhere. And later on, Kathleen admitted that Devra and Esther were working to break us up.
86.
So there's Esther Michaels.
So Esther Michaels, yeah. Esther came on board, and one day she came downstairs and she was all excited because Devra had made her a partner. What that meant, I don't know. But Esther was brought on mainly, she said at one point when I was not Devra's personal assistant anymore, that I was going to be her assistant, and I was going to help her with marketing and promotions. But nothing was ever done regarding that.
Was there a sum of money mentioned by Esther Michaels to buy into this partnership?
I had heard that that there was $20,000 in cash she was to receive, but I did not hear that from Esther.
Devra was to receive from Esther Michaels?
No, that Esther was to receive, you know, if everything worked out with this partnership, that she could be making $20,000 a month in cash.
Right. I think I've seen that in one of the memos that went through.
87.
No, what about Cheryl O'Brien?
Cheryl O'Brien is sort of the person who does the dirty work up there, I think. And I felt that from the first 2 weeks I was there. And she also squeals on everybody. She'll get you to start talking. You think, you know, she's on your side because she's an outsider. She's not a member. But then she'd go right back. And she did it to me. I saw her do it to everybody. She stabbed everybody in the back.
So she is the one that keeps tabs on the checkbook and all the finances.
Oh, yeah, and moves the money around.